What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, joined by the one, the only
Gersh1.
And today we're back to answer more questions from you guys in another episode of One to Skip a Few for the Greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put a question in front of your question because we get to those questions first.
And that is word for word what Kevin did. But you had something to say, so say it.
Oh, because I was going to say, like, while I'm editing, like, sometimes I've noticed, or not sometimes, I notice that every single time we WAAAGH, it's for the same amount of time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, we've done this so many times that we know exactly when we're going to start and when we're going to stop, almost in synchrony. Sometimes.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you got to mix it up every now and then.
Hold it for a little bit longer.
But then your bladder hurts.
Yeah. Then you get, what is it called? Urinary tract infection.
UTIs? Kevin, let's get back to you. Kevin Persinger says, due to the semi-mysterious nature of the Adeptus Mechanicus, is there a way to tell if there are dark Mechanicus in hiding within their ranks? Is there a branch of the Inquisition to deal with this? And taking it a step further, what would happen if the Ad Mech fought against the dark Mechanicus?
So right off the bat, let's answer the easy one, like the Dark Mechanicus versus the regular Adeptus Mechanicus. The Adeptus Mechanicus wins.
Yeah, I would say so.
And the reason it wins is because the Adeptus Mechanicus is a there's a fly in the room. It is a structured, or it's an organized group. Like everybody follows the Fabricator General of Mars. Each Forge World, although independent, still has to abide by the rules of Mars and the priesthood of Mars. Whereas with the Dark Mechanicus, it's off. Every single person is by themselves. Like you got to think of the Dark Mechanicus not as like one entity, but rather just like a bunch of little ones. So you have like, so like in technology, you have entire organizations for the development of certain softwares, and then you have all these people that are hackers. The hackers don't work together. They're all independent. But they're all considered like one entity, but not really. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. But do you guys?
Probably not. Comment down in the comment section below.
Do you feel our flow?
Catch our vibes? And so moving on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, they do get policed by the Inquisition, just like pretty much any Imperial-controlled faction gets policed by the Inquisition. But I think they're more like the Space Marines, where they're kind of autonomous.
Yeah, and that's like, that goes back to the whole Treaty of Mars and what the Emperor created during the Unification Wars. So he went to Mars and was like, I'll let you guys have your independence as long as you continue to provide tools or technology for the Imperium. And that's sacred. So if the Inquisitor ever, or like if an Ordo of the Inquisition goes specifically to fight the Adeptus Mechanicus who turn traitors, the regular, like the priesthood of Mars, is not going to like that.
Right. Because
like you have this entity now that is singling out the Adeptus Mechanicus for wrongdoings. Would they catch Dark Mechanicus tech priest? Of course. But like then that just means that the Inquisition has the right to meddle in all of the Adeptus Mechanicus' works specifically, and they wouldn't like that.
Exactly, because like when we were talking about with cohesion, let's say the Forge World of Metallica gets investigated, that's going to look bad on the Fabricator General and just all Forge Worlds of Mars, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, whereas the Dark Mechanicus, if like Huron Blackheart goes and like destroys a Forge World for his own cause, all the other Forge Worlds don't care. They're going to be like, hey, at least it wasn't me.
Right, yeah. And then there was a third one.
And lastly, are there sleeper agents of the Dark Mechanicus within the Ad Mech?
Yeah, that's the whole point of the Dark Mechanicus.
And this goes back all the way to the Heresy, where basically half of the Ad Mech allied with Horus and half remained loyalists. There's always going to be cults within certain sectors of loyalists that will turn traitor or rogue and eventually become traitor. So
yeah, but emphasis on like rogue, like they are individuals. They might have like a conclave or something, but they're always working independently from one another. So, yeah.
And that all stems on their views, because when it comes to the Mechanicus, they want to progress technology. They want to find STCs. But there is a certain point where the Imperium, which they fall under, says, no, anything after this is heresy. You can't do it. Yeah. And that's getting pushed and pushed and pushed beyond its boundaries, thanks to Belisarius' call. Like, don't get me wrong, he's done so much good, so many awesome inventions for humanity and the Imperium in general, like the Primaris Marines, but there are people that say he's teetering on heresy or violating what the Emperor has dictated as to be true and holy, just like the Space Marines. They were the Emperor's creations, there can be no betterment to it, but no, he tinkers with their gene seed and creates something better, the Primaris.
Yeah. But yeah, good question. Long one, too.
It is.
This next one comes from Matthias Kowalski. How Battlestar Galactica can fit in 40K? Please make this true. So that's a really tough one because I don't know too much about Battlestar Galactica. Do you?
No, I never got into that, just like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Star Wars was enough for me.
But the thing is, like, and I think the reason that you're bringing this up is because we mention on the channel over and over and over again that Warhammer 40K is super moldable. Like, you can basically create anything within this sandbox world. What I have seen is, like, you can take certain characters, like, let's say Batman, from, like Batman. You take him, you can somehow create a mold around this character to fit into, like, either your Dark Heresy campaign or even, like, the tabletop, in that, like, you can make an Inquisitor that's very, like, vigilante-like. He's super rich because he's been collecting money from, like, all different planetary governors, and now he's using that as a way to fight heresy, because he's an Inquisitor.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, like, there's ways to, like, twist it. Even, like, with Star Wars, you can create some type of faction like the Mandalorians.
Exactly, yeah. There's so much that you can work with. It doesn't even have to fit in the current timeline of 40K. You could say this was pre-Imperial Earth, and that's why you've got, like, still, like, Earth being called Earth and not Terra, stuff like that.
Yeah, and then you also have... you have to remember the autonomy of most planets. Like, planetary governors can still rule themselves.
Yeah, and void storms can always cut off a whole sector of space, and you could say that's why they haven't progressed with the rest of the galaxy.
Yeah.
There's ways.
Yeah, or use xenotech that looks more like the Battlefleet Galactica thing.
Or just don't make it fit, and then you'd have to explain it every time it gets brought up.
Yeah, but then that'd be fun. Unless, like, the people at your Games Workshop store are judgmental and nasty.
Nasty. Sucios. Yeah. This one's by just Oscar. No alias, no last name, just Oscar.
That's weird.
He's curious about creating a grimdark story and world of his own. What does grimdark mean to you, and what are some great 40K examples so that I can incorporate it into my own?
Stagnation, oppression, pain, hopelessness. Those are all, like, grim darkness.
Basically me right now.
Yeah.
I'm stagnant. I ain't going anywhere in life. I'm depressed. I'm feeling pain, both physically, mentally, spiritually, sexually.
Well, that's actually a good point, though, because, like, I wouldn't categorize you as grim dark, though.
That's good.
Yeah. So then I guess we just kind of it disproves what we just said.
That is true.
Because there has to be an aesthetic.
I have, like, the sci-fi fantasy. Well, no, because you can have a grimdark theme be... like, dystopian, I guess, would have to be the term.
Yeah.
Like, if I was ragged and I had, like, goggles and shit like that.
Yeah, then you would be. Or what would be, like, a modern-day...
grimdark
person. Like, the closest thing I can think of is, like, back in the day, the emo kids.
I guess.
Janko jeans.
Chains on their pants to symbolize something that they're not really doing.
Yeah.
or feeling, embodying.
But that's actually a really good question. And I think, like, if you're trying to create your own grimdark setting, use Dune as an example of, like, not being so cliche, like, gothic and priests and stuff like that. Because I think the Dune series does a really good job of creating that grim darkness, even the movie.
Yeah.
But still be sci-fi.
So I pulled up the definition of grimdark, and it is a subgenre of speculative fiction with a tone, style, or setting that is particularly dystopian, amoral, or violent.
Oh, there you go, amoral. I think that's a really interesting, like, way to describe, your universe.
It is, yeah.
And it's, like, lacking of hope. because, well, not even necessarily like or what would it be? Indifferent of hope.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah. So keep working on it and let us know what you come up with.
And take examples. So like, because you did say you wanted examples, and I think like the Inquisition is probably the most grimdark thing of 40K.
Old school Grey Knights, where Grey Knights are meant to be the angels and the hope of humanity. They fight against demons and the horrors of the warp. But if you guys manage to sneak a peek at a demon, hey, your whole world's going with it. So it's like there's a sense of hope, but it just tears it down, and there's no morals there, and it's all solved with violence.
Yeah. And then we'll do one last question. This one comes from Philippe Canaveses. I love your channel, guys. I'm from Brazil, and I don't have access to any Warhammer 40K materials. Do you guys can help me? I would love to play some Warhammer RPG. What can I do? So if you are in a place where, at this point in time, you can get material anywhere, especially if you want to play RPG style games, because like that's just Dark Heresy.
Yeah.
And Dark Heresy is you could download it.
Right. There's a PDF for it. You don't have to find the physical book or go to a brick and mortar store to purchase it or import it from other places, because that's going to be hella expensive.
Yeah. So no, like it's on there. You could just pick it up as an ebook.
Yeah. And when it comes to like playing with the miniatures and stuff like that, because it is an RPG. It's kind of like D&D in a way, but there's no actual models. There's no tabletop for playing. So it's like if you wanted to add that next layer of immersion, then you could do it that way.
Yeah, and it's awesome that we have fans from Brazil. Whenever we look at our demographic, it's usually just the U.S.
The U.S. Yeah.
The UK is second, and then I think Australia, which is obvious, right? Like that's where the Games Workshop is being sold.
Well, it's being sold expensive over there.
Yeah. But yeah, those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us or just want to talk, drop a comment down in the comment section below.
But not too fast, because if you drop it too hard, it'll break, and we have to like piece it together.
You might bounce and break your back, so be careful with that too. Thanks for hanging out. We'll talk tomorrow.
Yeah, this has been the Sound Alchemist.
Gershwan.
And we're out of here.
Oh, I used to put my freedom first.